Hi guys, welcome you all. Hope you are all staying home and staying safe. As we have covered the first two chapters in the month of April and May, and after a very short break of June, we are back again with our syllabus. We are into the third chapter. The name of the chapter is Kingship, Caste, and Class of the early societies. The period is between 600 BCE to 600 CE. We saw in the the second chapter that the economic and political life of these early societies, and this economic and political life of the early society influenced the societies socially. It transformed the lives of the people became, those people who were once upon a time the forest dwellers became agriculturists and specialized in craft and all that. Thus the no the life of the people got impacted socially. There was a social difference between the people. Now we are going to study all this in this chapter, and we are going to focus in this chapter. We are going to focus mainly on Mahabharata and how it is going to tell us about the social differences existing of that time. Now, what is the central story of this Mahabharata? The central story of Mahabharata is about two sets of warring cousins. Okay, so the central, please underline this, the central story is about two sets of warring cousins, and this text contains sections laying down norms of behavior for various social groups. इसलिए ये महाभारत के बारे में हम इस चैप्टर में पढ़ने वाले हैं, क्योंकि ये हर एक सोशल ग्रुप्स को ये बताता है कि नो इट गिव्स सम रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस फॉर द बिहेवियर ऑफ सम सोशल ग्रुप्स. So this social group has to behave in this way, that kind of rules and regulations laid by the Mahabharata. So we are going to focus more on Mahabharata in this chapter. Okay, that is the introduction. The critical edition of the Mahabharata. This is not so important from your question answer point of view, but one marker, yes, of course it is important. This critical एडिशन मीन्स महाभारत के बारे में डिटेल स्टडी करना और उसके ऊपर एक थीसिस या उसके ऊपर एक डॉक्टरेट जैसा एक डॉक्टरेट करना. One of the most ambitious projects of scholarship began in 1919 under the leadership of a noted Indian Sanskritist is V.S. Suthankar, very important person. You need to know this person. He was the in charge of this project. Then what they were doing is they were collecting a lot of things. Okay, so the team worked out a method of comparing verses from each manuscript. Ultimately they selected the verses that appeared common to most verses, and from so many languages, almost so many languages, they collected the verses and they made a lot of volumes, and it is almost 13,000 pages they took into, and the project took almost 47 years to complete. That's all fine, nothing so important. What is so important here is this: the two things became very very apparent. What are the two things? They are, the first one is there are several common elements in the Sanskrit versions of the story. Sanskrit versions of the stories में बहुत सारे several common elements थे evident in manuscripts found all over the subcontinent from Kashmir, Nepal, and even Kerala, Tamil Nadu. So Sanskrit verses were very very common. Okay, Sanskrit verses or versions were very very common, but what is not common is this. Also evident were enormous regional variations in the ways in which the text had been transmitted over the centuries. This is very important. So these are the two things. One is several common elements, yes, in the versions of the story that Mahabharata, but when it is regional wise, South India and Northeast India and Western India. So every part had their own regional stories to be fed into, to feed into Mahabharata according to the traditions, according to the culture of that area. The slight modifications were done in the Mahabharata. So that is what is being observed by this team, this V.S. Sutanga's team. These variations were documented in footnotes and appendices. This is nothing but a bibliography. What we appendices means bibliography that we read to the main text, then taken together. It's almost 13,000 pages. Okay, fine. So, um, so that's it. What we need to know from this. Okay, so now not much important. So the one marker. Now we are getting into the core chapter. This is the core chapter. Now the first question that we are going to discuss in this chapter is, you know, elaborate kinship and marriage during the early societies. That's the question. Yeah. What are the rules and the varied practices with respect to kingship and marriage during the early societies? This is the question. Okay, so this is a long answer. This has to be discussed in an elaborate manner, so it's a long answer. The first heading, so you have to put the heading and write in this answer. You have to put the heading के नीचे एक दो पॉइंट, एक एक हर एक हेडिंग के नीचे कम से कम दो या तीन पॉइंट लिखना पड़ेगा आपको. So first, before we get into the topic, let us see this term here, terms for family and kin. Sanskrit texts use the term kula, okay, to designate families. Okay, then this nati for the larger network of kinfolk. Okay, and the term vamsha is used for lineage. ये सब हमें पता है. It's all Hindi also the same. संस्कृत में ये सब है, ठीक है. We often take family life very granted. Okay, we always think that family is that, you know, where parents and brothers and sisters and the people who stay together in a house and share their food and share everything, you know, joys and sorrows. That is a family. This is much, you know, larger network. Family is not just that. Families are usually parts of larger networks of people defined as relatives. Even the relatives that we have, the father's side and mother's side, paternal maternal relatives, they are also part of the families. To use more technical term called kinfolk. While familial ties are often regarded as natural and based on blood, they are defined in many different ways. Okay, so that is the family. Family is much larger network. This is the point that you need to mention in this heading. So this is much more than what we think about a family. Okay, so early societies, historians used to have the information about the elite families. Elite families के बारे में historians ने बहुत कुछ लिखा है, हमें पता है. Okay, the families of the kings of Mahajanapadas and all that we know. But it is very difficult, very difficult to reconstruct the familial relationships of ordinary people. Ordinary people के बारे में मुझे ज़्यादा पता नहीं है. But historians also investigate and analyze attitudes towards family and kinship. They are important because just to know about their history not enough. To about their behavior, attitudes, and their, you know, way of thinking we should know. So that is all about. So this is the second point that you need to about write in this one. Okay. So 2 points about finding about families. Now, what is the idea of patrilineal? What is patrilineal? Patrilineal means tracing descent from father to son, grandson, and so on. That we studied in sociology last year, if you remember. What is patrilineal and what is matrilineal? एक बार क्वेश्चन आया भी है, differentiate between patrilineal and matrilineal, 1 mark में आया है. So patrilineal means tracing descent from father to son. Okay, whereas matrilineal, it is tracing through mother. Okay, it's from mother to son. So mother. Okay, so that is patri and matri. Now, at one level, Mahabharata is a story about all this. Okay, it describes Mahabharata describes a feud over land. What is a feud? A land owner. Okay, a feud over land and power between two groups of cousins, that is Kauravas and Pandavas. We know this story, but even then it is there, so we should read and understand. So Mahabharata describes about this owner having right over the land and power between two groups, that is Kauravas and who belong to a single ruling family called that of Kuru. Kuru we studied in 16 Mahajanapadas last chapter. In the last chapter we studied Kuru is one of the Mahajanapadas. So Kuru family से belong करते हैं ये Kauravas and ruling family Pandavas. Okay, ultimately the conflict ended in a battle, we all know, in which Pandavas became victorious. Okay, now after that patrilineal succession was proclaimed, and while patrilineal succession was taken, patrilineal had existed prior even to the composition of this epic, that Mahabharata pehle se. But Mahabharata, what is trying to do, it is just reinforcing this idea called patrilineal. ऐसा नहीं सोचना है कि suppose एक statement आ सकता है कि patrilineal for the first time started existing after the composition of Mahabharata. It's a wrong statement, because patrilineal was existing even before the composition of Mahabharata. But what Mahabharata was doing is it was reinforcing this idea called patrilineal. Now under Patrilineal, sons could become, what is Patrilineal? They could become the owner of this one, the resources को वो claim कर सकते हैं, and they can become the they can take the throne after the father's death or something, all that. Most ruling dynasties claim to follow this system. Okay, there are some variations in practice. Yes, sometimes then if there are no sons, okay, sometimes most of the this one uh, they practice patrilineal, most of them, but variations say whenever there is no son in the family, then what they used to do, they used to go, the brothers of that, the king's brother succeeded, but it should be a male member, and sometimes even other kingsmen claim the throne and all that. The exceptional circumstances, even women, like we studied about Prabhavati Gupta in second chapter, in some exceptions it is there. We cannot say completely in early society it was all about male ruling. The concern with patrilineal was not unique to ruling families. It is evident even mantras in ritual texts such as Rig Veda. Rig Veda में भी patrilineal के बारे में ज़्यादा लिखा हुआ है, and it is being shared by wealth. It is possible this patrilineal attitude is shared by wealthy men and those who claimed high status, including Brahmanas. They started proclaiming to the people to practice patrilineal mainly in their families, to take over the family business, to take over the family, head of the family should be a person. So all that patrilineal. Now this is the first source talking about producing fine sons. This is taken from Rig Veda, and it talks about you know producing fine sons to take over, to have more and more. So I free her from there and not from here. I have bound her firmly there, so that the grace of Indra, she will have the sons and be fortunate to her husband's love. Indra was one of the principal deities, a god of valor, mighty power, warfare, reign. Here and there refers to the father's and husband's house respectively. Very simple source. Please read and you will understand. The second source talks about, I know it is taken again, it is taken from Mahabharata, okay, and the first section of Mahabharata, that is Adi Parvan, so first section of the Mahabharata, and it is taken from here. And this is a story why they started fighting amongst both the Kauravas and Pandavas, why they started fighting. Kauravas were the sons of Tirtharashtra, and Pandavas were their cousins. Since Tirtharashtra was blind, his younger brother Pandu ascended the throne of Hastinapura. Okay, this is story. Please, you can read, but then please listen. Hastinapura is brother Pandu. Okay. However, after the premature death of Pandu, Tirtharashtra became king. Okay, blind person, he became king. As the royal princes were still very young and they could not take up, the princes grew up together. The citizens of Hastinapura began to express their preference to the for the Pandavas, because these people were very very virtuous and they were good people than Kauravas. So people started liking Pandavas. This made Duryodhana, the eldest of the Kauravas brothers, became very jealous. He approached his father and said, "You yourself did not receive the throne, although it fell to you because of your defect. If the Pandava receives the patrimony from Pandu, his son will surely inherit it in return. So will his son. So his son. So ourselves with our son shall be excluded from this. So we need to get this." So that this passage is taken, not literally true, but just idea taken from Mahabharata. Whether it happened in history, we are not very sure. Yes, this is about this source talks about how why they start fighting, why the quarrel began between these two brothers. This is the reason. That is about the idea of patrilineal. So, what are the points that you need to write in this? The first point that you need to write in idea patrilineal is You need to write, what is that? The first one, um, yes, you need to write the Mahabharata describes about this whole Alikna Padega and battle is between these two people because of the patrilineal succession. Okay, and it is and patrilineal succession existed even before Mahabharata was written. So that is a point that you need to mention. Baki, all that is okay. That is, brothers succeeding and all that is not so much required. Fine. Now, going to the next heading, that is rules of marriage. Before we get into rules of marriage, let us see the types of four marriages we have already studied in sociology last year. If you are not a sociology student, so you should know what is this all. Endogamy, it is a marriage. It happens within a unit, that is caste, kin group, or within their own local locality or same group. Exogamy, it is just opposite to endogamy. It is happening outside this one. And polygamy is the practice of man having several wives, and polyandry is the practice of woman having several husbands. Okay, so what is most well accepted marriage in India, in North India, that is always exogamy. We marry from to the other outside our caste, outside our own gotra. Okay, while sons are very important for the continuity of the patrilineage, daughters were viewed rather than differently in this. They had no claims. But sons are very important, but daughters had their own. Daughters were considered differently. Why? Because they had no claims to the resources to the household of the household. At the same time, marrying them into the families outside the kin was considered desirable, and this system is called exogamy. Marrying outside meant that lives of young girls and women belonging to the families that claimed high status were often carefully regulated to ensure that they are married to the right time and to the right person. This is the responsibility of every parents. See, I'm not telling this has to be done and this is the right thing, but no, what is written in no Rig Veda, Vedas, and Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras, and all that we are studying. So the early society believed in this type of thinking, that is, it is the responsibility of the parents to give their daughters in marriage to the right person and in right time to the right family, good family. This is a responsibility, and this gave rise to the belief of the कन्यादान इसलिए हम आज भी कन्यादान का प्रैक्टिस है, क्योंकि ये उनका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो नो गुड फैमिली में शादी कराएं, और कन्यादान द गिफ्ट ऑफ द डॉटर शुड बी गिवन, and this is considered an important religious duty of the father also. The father's, it is a religious duty, not simply simple duty, but it's a religious duty. With the emergence of, this is the first point that you need to write. With the emergence of new towns and social life became more and more complex. New towns आए, लोग बेचने खरीदने मार्केट में आए, बहुत सारे वीकली मार्केट्स, मंथली मार्केट्स, डेली मार्केट्स लगने लगे, तो लोग फार एंड वेरी वेरी फार एंड नियर came in touch with each other. So urban life became a part of the society. This led to a questioning of earlier beliefs and practices of the marriage. Faced with this challenge, the Brahmanas responded by laying down some codes. Codes means rules. They laid down some codes of social behavior in detail. So they gave some rules and regulations to the Brahmanas, gave a lot of rules and regulations to the rest of the society, and these norms are compiled in Sanskrit text, and those Sanskrit texts are known as Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras. The most important such works is called Manusmriti. Manusmriti is the most important. This one, Dharma Shastra, Dharma Shastras is most important, and it is compiled between 200 BC to 200 C. And this talks about, just to forget about this paragraph, talk about this. What is interesting that the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras recognize that as of 8 forms of marriages. How many forms of marriages? 8 forms of marriage. Why? Because people started mingling with each other, having more and more complex life. Different types of marriages were taking. Earlier it was just an arranged marriage between the parents of the girl and parents of the boy, and they used to arrange the marriage, and it was happening in a well coordinated manner. But now different types of marriages happening. Some are, it's a love marriage, or people, some abduct the girl and take and go, buy the girl and go. So many types of marriage. So 8 forms of marriages recognized by this brahmanas. The first four were recognized as good marriages, and the while remaining were considered very condemned. So it is possible that these were practiced by those who did not accept Brahmanical norms. If people who are practicing this, the last four out of eight में जो last four marriages है, उसको जो फोर को प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं वो ब्राह्मणिकल नॉर्म्स को एक्सेप्ट नहीं करने वाले. सो फर्स्ट फोर को जो करते हैं वो ब्राह्मणिकल नॉर्म्स को एक्सेप्ट करते हैं. दैट इज हाउ इट इज accepted, considered this point. So there are 3 points to be written in this. First one and second one is the city, urban life became more and more complex. So having no eight different marriages. Now we are going to see in source 3 8 forms of marriages. Here only first four, fifth and sixth marriages are talked here. First one is the gift of the daughter after the dressing her in a very costly clothes and honoring and giving very very no royal and very obvious and accepted marriage it is. Daughter is given by the parents in a well kanyadan pura, well decorated, given in marriage. The fourth one is the gift of the daughter by the father after he has addressed the couple with the text that may both of you perform your duties together and has shown honor. So ye fourth marriage. Fifth one is when the bridegroom receives a maiden after having given such a wealth he can afford to the kinsman, and it is buying. Okay, according to his own will he can buy. The sixth one is the voluntary union of the maiden and her lover, which brings is a love marriage. Sixth marriage is love marriage, which may not be accepted by the parents. So this is about the rules of marriages, and this one source, very important source. Okay, very important source. Now, gotra of women. See, we should know. See, each in India, in India, everyone. Okay, in Brahmanical practice, according to Brahmanical practice, people are classified into gotras. People are Each gotra was named after the Vedic sphere. Okay, their own Vedic, can say, god or Vedic practice and all that. Those who belong to the same gotra were regarded as his descendants. Two rules about gotras very important. The one is first rule, very very important, please underline two rules. One marker में आ सकता है. Women were expected to give up their father's gotra and adopt the husband's gotra on marriage, and members of the same gotra cannot marry each other. This is a two rules about gotra. Question आ सकता है. One is women should give up the father's gotra and take up the husband's gotra, that is surname. Okay, sir, what we till today's term में अगर बात करें तो surname change होता है वो. Okay, one way to find out whether this was commonly followed is to consider the names of men and women, whether ये follow हो रहा है कि नहीं है. हम name देखेंगे तो पता चलेगा, because the person once after the marriage the women's surname changes, and no, they take the surname of their husband's family. These names are available to powerful rulings. This one also we can see Satavahanas who ruled over parts of Western India and the Deccan area. They had a lot of, in many of the inscriptions they have inscribed about their surnames and all that. You need not write that. The two rules, and find out how to find out that you need to write. First point, second point. Now this is a source talking about this Satavahana kings, their name. Raja Gautami Putta Sri Satagani, Raja Vaishti Putta Sami Sri Pulumai, Raja Gautami Putta Sami Sri Ana Satagami. So all that, these are no change, surnames changing. Okay, Sri Pulumai and Sri Satagani and Sri Ana Satagani. So the name is changing, according to this. So, but they, the term Gautami Putta means son of Gautami. So here mothers, they take the name of surname of the only very important speciality of the Satvana rulers. We I think already studied this. If not, please underline and mark this. The speciality of the Satvana rulers is that no, they take the surname of their mother. Okay, so metronymics meaning taking the name. Okay, taking the name. So metronymics in the Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that is the one of the earliest Upanishad, contains a list of successive generations of teachers and students, many of whom were designated by metronymics. That is fine, not so important. Some of the Satavahana rulers were polygynous. We studied polygamy and polyandry. Polygamy means having more than one wife. So they were having more than one wife, and so the names of women who married Satavahana rulers indicates that many of them had names derived from Gotra, such as Gautama and Vashishta, their father's Gotra. Even after the marriage, their surname or their Gotra is not changed. They are still having the father's Gotra. So the freedom is given to them not to follow, not to take. It is only found in Satavahana. And they take their mothers, Gautama and Vashishta, all these are mothers. So mother's surname they take, the Gotra of mother's surname. So they evidently retain their names instead of adopting the names derived from the husband's Gotra. They keep the father's husband's का वो गोत्र नहीं लेते हैं, but they retain their own father's gotra. What is so apparent is that some of these women belong to the same gotra. ये बहुत बहुत नोट करने की बात है. ये जो women है, they belong to the same gotra. We studied two things, very important things about gotra. One is they should take the name. यहाँ पे दोनों violate हो रहा है. Satavahana rulers violated both the rules given by the brahmanas, that is you have to take the gotra of your husband, not taken, violated, and they have to marry outside the gotra, that is also violated. So that is why in South India, even today, this is practiced that no, you can marry within your gotra, whereas North India it is totally different. So this ran counter to the ideal exogamy recommended by the exogamy practice करना करके ब्राह्मणिकल टेक्स्ट बताते हैं, लेकिन इसके ऑपोजिट में ये लोग एंडोगमी मैरिज करते हैं. So it exemplified the alternative practice that endogamy marriage within the king group was also prevalent during this time. Very very important to be noted of the Satavahanas. So Satavahanas अलग से क्वेश्चन भी आ सकता है Satavahanas के बारे में, but I don't think so. But you need to write when this heading, that is no गोत्र heading में आपको ये लिखना पड़ेगा. Okay, good. Gotra of the women. Now we are into the next heading. Are this important? Okay, what is that? This women, yeah, were mothers important? Yes, we have seen Satavahana rulers were identified through metronymics. Metronymics names derived from that of mother. Although this may suggest that mothers were important, but what is just surname is taken from the mother, but the succession to the throne is generally patrilineal. Very very important to be noted. Satavahanas, Satavahanas have, they take the mother, no, the name of the mother, the surname of the mother, but what is the succession theory is patrilineal only. So that is to be noted. So even in Satavahana's case. So that is all about the first question that we need to discuss. I just quickly summarize what we have done today. We have done first topic, that is what are the rules or the varied practices about kinship and uh, yeah, power cut here. So please go through this, or you can go through video again. I don't want to summarize now. I'll summarize in the next class. Okay, till then, take care. Bye bye, see you.